Hello everyone, welcome to another trophy stream, the first one for racing. My name is Dan Handover and we have, at the side, Jackzer. How are you doing, Jackzer?
How's it going, everyone?
Nice to have you. And what a guest to have on the very first racing podcast for Trophy. Always a pleasure.
Likewise, thanks for having me. One sec of a bit of feedback. That's my bad, I've done something wrong.
It's right. So just to be clear on this, there may be some levels that we're going to be adjusting. We're going to go through it. We're going to be fine. You all got it?
Fixed
you good?
It. All good.
Amazing.
What's
looking
the crack,
at the chat,
everybody?
Yeah, we got a few people in the chat, which is good. Obviously, questions and people messaging, and absolutely go for it. We want as many people chatting in the stream as possible. We've got a bit of a plan of what we're going to talk about, but at the same time, if it starts to go and meander off, that's completely okay as well. But we have got lots to talk about. Like I said, we'll see how it goes. But around the topic of sim racing, obviously, like I said, this is the very first sim racing stream that we're doing with Trophy. And I mean, Jackson, we've known each other. I'm trying to think. We've known each other for how long now? This is probably getting on for 2 years, isn't it? You've been with Trophy.
Yeah, too long. Yeah.
Wow.
No, I think, it's probably, coming up to 2 years now, I think. And what a blast it's been.
I know. It's
Time flies when you're having fun, huh? Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. I'm already looking in the chat. There's quite a few. It's my Dortmund drinking buddies. There we go. Yes, absolutely. Hello. That was good. We enjoyed the Sim Expo, didn't we? Zags has actually put in, looking forward to the stream. Please ask if Trophy is going to implement US metrics. We have heard that quite a lot. It is, we're aware of it. We are aware of it. Can't give an exact time, but we are aware of it. And it's something that we do eventually ultimately want to do. Jackzer, sim racing, as we all know, especially with, the last 5 or 6 years, really starting to grow, has been for the last couple of years, will always continue to grow. Let's be honest. It's going to be something that is always going to grow for the foreseeable future. Now, you've been doing sim racing for a while, like I have. So talk me through just a little bit about your sim racing journey in this whole thing. How did you get to effectively where you are now, which is a very, very well-respected person in the sim community?
Well, thanks very much. Jeez, you put that very kindly. So sim racing is interesting. I think similar to a lot of sim racers, I'm a gamer at heart. I used to play a lot of first-person shooters, that sort of thing. And then they kind of got a bit boring, moved on to military simulation. I felt that was a bit more deeper, a bit richer. I like that. Kind of got burnt out the whole shooter thing, the veins in your forehead can only take so much with those style games. So I kind of just pulled away from gaming for a while. I used to do YouTube alongside with all that. So YouTube and gaming always went hand in hand. I love the idea of having something to show for all the gaming that I'm doing, especially seeing as shooters and military simulators. It's very easy to tell a story with that, especially with military simulators. So took a break for about a year or two, and then I got a PlayStation because I just was fed up with PC gaming. My PC was always giving me trouble and stuff like that. So I thought, I'm just going to get a PlayStation. And I got Gran Turismo and Forza, and I was really, really enjoying those. And on Gran Turismo, I started really liking the racing, but I didn't like how it handled. I couldn't put my finger on it exactly, but I wasn't too into it. Then I got a Assetto Corsa on the PlayStation. That handled a lot better, but the problem was trying to get an actual race. It was very difficult to try and get a race on a Assetto Corsa. Sometimes you hop on a GT3 server on PlayStation, you get 2 guys, have a nice battle for 2 laps, and then that's it. You won't have a race like that for a week, or at least I wasn't. So then I made the jump to iRacing, and then I have to say, I never really looked back because I was watching people like Dave Cam, mainly Dave Cam online, and I was like, whoa. This racing bumper to bumper stuff that is amazing. And saying that I came from shooters, where you kind of have to focus for very specific amounts of time. In racing, the calmer you are, the better you do. Whereas in shooters, it's not quite like that. It's very hard to remain calm when you're under fire, I guess, in a virtual sense. But the switch to sim racing was amazing. So I just started doing that, and I just haven't looked back. I love it. I've always had the itch for racing. So I know in sim racing, the cars ain't real, but the racing definitely is. And then I guess early 24, I decided to kick back up on the YouTube again. And yeah, the rest is history. Was that too long?
There you go. No, it's good. No, it's good. This is great. This is what we like. No, really, I think, the whole sim, like I said, sim racing it's probably one of the closest. I'm trying to think of any other. All right, let's be honest. It's a game. Let's call it a game. It is what it is. People are might shout at me for that, but it is ultimately a game. It's a very
life's a game too. You know, man. So,
there you go. You see,
a game.
There you go. Yeah, everything. That's it. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know what other game you can play which is so close to real life, which is actually something that we've seen. I suppose we've seen with Verstappen, we've seen with Norris, we've seen a lot of the Formula One drivers and racing professionals. Daniel Morad is big in the space. Everything. It's getting so close to real world that it's finally starting to. It happened a little bit with Jan Mardenborough, but it's now starting to get more and more. I say common, but it's more normal for sim drivers, specific sim drivers, to work and start moving into real. I mean, look at Chris Lallum, right? Probably the most recent one, I would say. Yeah. It's really starting to push more and more, which is great. And I think that's something that it's good for the sport. It opens up a lot more opportunities. I don't know what your thoughts on that side of things are. I mean, it can't be. There's obviously it's got to be good, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. So the key word you said there is sport. It's turning it from a game and giving it the credibility that it's a sport. So there's a lot of people out there really pushing it, saying, trying to give the sport the credibility it deserves. Lots of people out there like UK Motorsport. There's a lot of people. Max Verstappen's team, everyone, myself, yourself, everyone is working, whether they know it or not, giving it more credibility as a sport. There's a whole market in there. People can get employed through many different ways. Usually, yeah, it's building credibility as a sport. I think that's the best way to put it. And the more we see people starting in the sim, we see younger F1 drivers talking about it in the sense that, some of the older F1 drivers don't really use the sim, but there will be a time where there's a complete crossover where pretty much the entire grid you will be able to find on iRacing in the first week of January somewhere, and that time will come. I think most decent race drivers respect the sim. So there's always that as well. It has a lot of credibility, but I think it's building more and more. In terms of esports, I think it's quite difficult. The money's not quite there in esports. Now, I don't know much about esports, but esports is a tricky kettle of fish. I think people rather watch personalities when it comes to sim racing rather than esports. But I'm biased because I don't watch esports. I'd rather watch someone that makes me laugh, and if I want to watch racing, competitive racing, I like the air of danger. Unfortunately, that's not an esports sim racing. So there is a weird limitation that sim racing has at the top level. People much rather watch people that they can relate with of similar skill levels than watch the aliens drive when there's no passes done. They're racing so fast that it actually looks like they're racing slow. Yeah, that's the only barrier that's a bit hard to cross, I think. What do you think about esports and sim racing?
It's never going to be. I don't think personally there's that much. There'll be more money in it as it goes, but the esports side of things is not going to be. It's not going to be at the level of other games. It just flat out isn't. Yeah. Like you said, there's an element of the danger side of it. Motorsport is dangerous. That has always been the case, right? But interesting enough, one of the things that you said about the sense of how close people are now. I think it was Max. Was it Max that said sim racing sometimes is actually harder in a way of racing with people than in Formula One because the gaps are so small. I mean, you're talking hundredths, half a tenth separates first to 10th, right? Which is really hard to come by in the real world space. So it's got its positives and negatives. I like the whole esports thing. The whole esports side of things is great. It's good that it's there, gives people opportunities, again, to move into the real world. So it's perfect. Which actually, what we're seeing now, and something that we've got actually a question in the chat about iRacing is obviously the standard. iRacing is the gold standard. Roland's actually confirmed. Yeah, said some very interesting things.
That's a bit of a hot take there for some. I'd also agree, but that's some red hot stuff to come out with there.
What?
I personally agree. iRacing is very hard to catch up with because they have years and years and years and years and years and years of development in there. But some people do try and compare it to other sims. I think it's very hard to compare to iRacing because they've really developed on it, and they're the right team for the job. They do it right. So yeah, it is the gold standard, but I know there's some people out there that definitely fight you on that.
That's fine. If you like what you like, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
There's not, and what I mean by that is the way, as you said, they've been around for so long, they've just got a format that really works, which is actually one of the things we got in the chat as well, is the fact that iRacing is super strong. Are any of the upcoming titles, again, there's quite a few now, let's be honest. We've got AC Rally, we've got PMR, we've got AC Evo that's still being developed. Anything that stands out to you? I know that there's a lot, so anything that takes your fancy when it comes to all the different sims now.
Personally, if it was executed perfectly, I would AC Evo, because that's iRacing is the gold standard, we say, for razor edge, high frequency. Do you remember that scene in The Wolf of Wall Street where Matthew McConaughey is talking to Leonardo DiCaprio at the top of the restaurant and the high building? He's talking about, it's all numbers, man, high frequency. He's talking. Do you remember that scene? iRacing is very much like that. It's there's no chilling, cruising with the boys, this sort of thing. There's it's very, either you go out and you're like, you put the knife in between your teeth and you start crawling, or you don't show up. That's the way I view it. Like, and if you go out in a race and you do a half-assed attempt at a race, you feel very disappointed because there's no cruising, there's no drifting, there's no mods for a tag if you want to play it. Assetto Corsa Evo is something that every iRacer, I think, would love to have. It's not a one or the other. It's, okay, you know what? I'd love to go do some driving in the back roads and just join in, cruise with some people, have some fun with different cars. I cannot wait for Assetto Corsa Evo for that reason, because it's the opposite of iRacing. It's a lot easier to just something that's easy and just there's no expectation. Just go drive and have fun with the pleasure of driving. In iRacing, you have a job to do. You need to be fast and you need to hit your points. In AC Evo, there's a bit more to it. There's cruising, there's taking your time, there's enjoying driving down a road, low revs and fourth gear. That's always fun to do. So AC Evo, I'm looking forward to that. AC Rally looked amazing. The graphics are just incredible, so like really awesome.
So good.
Yeah, what, have you tried it or?
I tried it on the last, at the expo, I tried it on the last, literally we were packing up and the final probably 30 minutes, I managed to jump in. I'm like Richard Burns Rally good. Like, this is, it's
the feeling of immersion was crazy. I only played it on one monitor and I didn't even get it set up on triples, and seeing the complexity in the dirt and what's going on, that was cool. The FFB needs a bit of work, but they'll listen because they know they've struck gold on that. So they just need to listen, tighten up the FFB. If they nail the FFB, that's it. Like, that is the perfect rally sim. It's cool the way you.
It's dirt rally. It's almost. It gives me the whole. Do you remember when you first played Dirt Rally 2?
I've barely played it. So
the first time you played Dirt Rally 2, it's just this incredible thing, and it gave me the same feeling. I was like, it was so good. Like, it was really, really. I'm really looking forward to that. Really looking forward to that.
That's gonna be really neat. So AC Evo, I'd love it if it could come along and just satisfy that crave, and open up to modding and just basically be Assetto Corsa, but just in 2026, like Assetto Corsa Evo, like what the name means. It's basically the most latest Assetto Corsa, where they give people who enjoy Assetto Corsa no reason not to come over. And you're talking so many more viewers, much more of an audience, much more gamers, and anyone who wants to hop on, cross-play compatibility. It's going to increase the scope of sim racing an awful lot. And obviously a lot of people that go there are going to be like, okay, I like racing though. And then they're going to hop onto sims like ACC or Le Mans Ultimate or our baby iRacing. But it's growing. I wish there was metrics for how much the sim racing niche is growing, but I can unequivocally say it is growing. It is growing quite hard.
It's a surprising amount. It's a surprising amount, actually. Like it's growing fast, really fast. And I can't remember. I've looked at, there's some statistics that a few people that I've seen on LinkedIn and etc. is starting to is showing that it is increasing. Do you remember? So going back to the whole just cruising in fourth gear with people like it. Do you remember? Trying to think which Forza it was. I started on Forza franchise. I wasn't a Gran Turismo person. I was Forza. Do you remember? Is it Forza 3 or Forza 4? Fujimi Kaido. Do you remember which Forza?
I had Forza 3, Forza 4, Forza. I liked Forza. The racing was a bit
Forza 3.
funky. Horizon was a lot of fun, but it was quite arcadey.
Horizon was Horizon was the arcadey thing, but it
gave you the freedom.
It was the thing. Yeah, it was the fact you could. It was a 25-kilometer stretch of winding, twisting roads, and you would jump in with people in a lobby, and the whole idea was just you chilled. You could do whatever you wanted. You could drive. You could drift. It was so and yes, having something like that for AC Evo, as you said, in 2026. Is gonna be really good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Simax there in the chat. He knows his Forza stuff.
I was gonna say Forza 3, drift montage.
Used to do a lot of Forza videos back in the day. We got a question here regarding sim racing esports. What might it take to elevate sim racing esports to a higher tier? Would it have to change in such a way to lose the realness factor? Well, I'm gonna come in with a hot take here. And I'm probably wrong because I know nothing about esports, but you need personalities, you need stakes, you need stories, you need, a racing is inherently boring. Even the most exciting races are inherently boring. Like if you were to see any of my races on YouTube without audio, no one would watch them, no matter how exciting they are. In that same context, I can do a very boring race and turn it into an excellent story piece, as an excellent body of just a video. So it's about storytelling. The reason why Super GT, the reason why Jimmy Broadbent, the reason why a lot of content creators do well is because they're good storytellers. So esports needs a storytelling aspect. I don't know what that is, but unfortunately, these races that start, even though there is a 20 grand prize or something at the end, it's still not enough. There needs to be story. There needs to be drama. There needs to be there needs to be something other than the racing that pulls people in. And F1, there's something other than the racing that pulls people in. But even if it's not that, you come because it's like, okay, these cars are screaming around here at 300 kilometers an hour, wheel to wheel. It's like, that's insane. Like, what kind of a human does that? But in sim racing, that's not something that's going to draw people in. So it needs storytelling and it needs money. And with storytelling, it'll get eyes. With eyes, it'll get money. That's what I think. Could be wrong. But yeah.
No, you're right.
It's a warm take. It's not a hot take.
No, well, you're right though. It's you need to entertain. You have to. If you're struggling to tell a story and there's not through the fault of the drivers, it's just there isn't really a platform to provide that type of story and to provide the type of drama, provide the type of personality that you get with real world. You're right. You hit the nail on the head. We've been saying this for a while. It has got better. I think a lot of what they do now is there's a lot more of the interviews as they go, especially in the big, all of the big broadcasts. There's a lot of interviews now. There's people that come on and they chat, and again, more real world drivers are getting involved, even with the broadcasting side of things, right? So yeah, you're right. It's definitely something that is going to need to change if we want to have that.
Like if you were to ask me, what is the F1 of esports? Now the thing is, that's F1 esports, but everyone knows that for multiple reasons they've lost. The only time I've ever seen F1 esports is when the top guys are crashing into each other like it's Gran Turismo. So it's like, okay, so that's not the top of esports by any caliber. That's probably a very hot take, but I just don't view it as that. If people are crashing into each other and being sour and the cars are acting weird, and I think we've all played F1, the game, and it is a great simulator, but guaranteed we know that all the drivers, when they want to have real racing fun, they come to a different sim such as iRacing. That's where you see them with bigger smiles on their faces while they're racing, with the way the cars handle. the way you manipulate the brakes and you can counter steer on entry and really lift the rear of the car. Way more intuitive driving, way more realistic. If you want to dare use that word. There needs to be like a pinnacle of esports where it's like, holy shit, it's the final. It's the race, like where we find out what's going to happen. But like, I know there's different leagues, there's different things, and yeah, someone needs to go throw a load of money at it. someone's gonna have to bite the bullet and go, you know what, look, I'll start the fire. It's gonna cost me, but it's gonna be great for the industry.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I've just seen someone just asked, is that a timeout chair behind me? No, it's just a normal chair.
It's a chair that has a perfect spot. It's like, you know, in The Sims where you can zone a little area. Like you can move a wall. It's like you move the wall with one square and you just place the chair.
I just place the chair. Yeah, it just happens to be in a place that there's a. Do you know what? Actually, as we've been talking, there's a little bit of back and forth about the motion rig side of things. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I know. You carry on with your thoughts on motion rigs, Jack. I've got certain things, but you carry on with what you think.
Motion rigs for me, there's a reason why some of the fastest drivers don't use them, but that's not really a thing. I think motion is so I've spoken to people who sell motion systems, who operate motion system cafes, who sell them to teams and who develop them. So like a couple of people, and seems to be the niche is that the people who have the most interest in them are drivers who are training for real life. So let's say someone's never been to the Nords before. A motion system for them would be nice. It's obviously not going to replicate all the feeling, but it's just so they can expect like where certain things are going to happen, whether it's a bit of going over a crest or dealing with a compression down at the bottom of the foxhole, or wherever it is. At least they have some sort of feeling going on that's not just the servo motor doing its thing. It's that there is actual moving. So for drivers practicing in real life, I believe that's where the use case is. For people who want a thrill and who want to be more connected, I think that's where the use case is. I don't know if it makes you faster. And then my last point on it is because these systems, they sell and they're quite strong. And if you want responsiveness, you need to have strength. It's very easy for people to get these things, even at expos, and just completely overset them up too aggressively. And what happens is, just because it can do it, people set it up aggressively. So these things need to be like jacked up, super strong, mad fast, expensive probably. And then you need to set them super subtly. If you want to use them, I think Dan Suzuki, if you ever watch him sim racing, you'll see he has a belt tensioner and a rig, and it's quite subtle the way he has his setup. He's able to drive fast, get the sensation of the balance of the car, what's going on, but it has to be set up subtly. So that's my take on motion. I don't know if I'd be into it personally. I think it'd take up too much power and electricity.
Yeah, but
3.5 kilowatts, I think those systems are. So yeah.
Getting expensive, the electricity now, isn't it? So
what's your shout on the old motion? That's my take on it anyway.
I generally for me is that I've been lucky enough to drive lots of different sims and lots of different rigs. If you notice the motion, it's not set up right. Right? If you're consciously aware that there is motion going on, at least to a point where it feels like you're having to think around it. That's the way that I look at it. If you're thinking around the motion, yes, it doesn't provide any value. In fact, it's worse because it's pulling cognitive bandwidth away from what you're doing. You hit the nail on the head as well. You're talking about rigs that are set up too aggressively. I know when you're at an expo, it all looks fancy because you're getting lobbed around in your chair 5 feet in the air. That's okay, fine. But it is just too. It's the same thing with sometimes companies, they'll have a wheelbase, they'll have a sim or whatever wheelbase they have, and it's so aggressively set up. They're using 50 Newton meters out of the 20 that it's able to. No modern car at least, has that level of steering. They're just not that heavy anymore. Race cars, they're not that heavy anymore, right? You have to drive a 1980s or 70s Group C car to even get close to what. But so it's that same sort of thing. I've always found that if you notice motion, it doesn't mean it's set up perfectly. It can help. The subtlety works. Less is more when it comes to motion.
Yeah.
There are companies, we're seeing in the chat, companies that say they are faster. I've heard that same thing as well. I can believe it. I can see how it could benefit if it's set up right. And also, it's not one of those things where you jump in, you're magically faster. It doesn't work like that. You know, it takes the same with if you go from a potentiometer brake pedal to a low cell brake pedal. Yes, you're going to be faster ultimately, but it takes a little bit of time to get used to it, right? So, yeah, but to be fair, also they are horrendously expensive. I know Daniel Morad has a motion rig. Obviously, he's a pro driver, and the same thing with Dan Suzuki. It's there, but it's not there. You know, it's not launching him out of the seat and everything, you know?
It has to be tuned very right. And that's very interesting what you say. If you notice it, it's wrong, because what does noticing it mean? I remember I tried a rig. It was a very expensive rig, over 150,000 at the Dortmund Expo recently. I won't name it, but it's just a setup. But what happened is, imagine, you know, the fast left-hander after Flugplatz. So you go up Flugplatz in the Nürburgring, the big uphill, and right-hander, and then you go down that straight for a long time. Then there's that left-hander where you need to be on throttle just by the nature of the corner. What happens is you turn in with your wheel, then the car would turn in, you feel it in the hands, and then the rig moves. And then you feel like you need to correct for the rig, but your correction has then moved the rig again. And it's like out of sync. So what should just be one turn in and one turn out to be ultimately fast, that's what you need to be nailing. It's broken down into three components. There's the turn in, there's the fix up, there's the fix up for the fix up, and the fix up for the fix up, and then you're out of the corner and you're noticing the motion, which is exactly a delay. What you're saying.
Some of them have delays.
An expert here on it, Ronan. I'm assuming Ronan, the sim consultants they're a channel partner, and they actually specialize in putting together rigs for people, for real life drivers and stuff, and awesome. Very well versed. So when he says he had one person ask for 20 Newton meter of feedback, I think he spoke to me about this, an old historic car driver, like that's the only person.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It makes sense. If you're driving a car like an old Group C or something from the 70s or from the 80s, we've all seen the onboard, Martin Brundle, whatever, driving the 90s 787B or whatever it was. We've seen how he's working the wheel. Or an old F1 car, you look at Senna's onboards and everything. He's working the wheel. He has to. Fair enough, you need 20 Newton meters of force feedback. If you're driving a Porsche 911 GT3 from 2019, you absolutely don't. Just absolutely not. You know, there's a reason GT3 cars are supposed to be some of the easiest cars to drive in terms of racing, right? They're so accessible. GT4s are the same. So someone mentioned, Daniel Morad, it has to be, it's subtle, but it has to be there. There's people still talking about that timeout chair in the back. I wish I'd have moved it now.
I love the chair. No, the chair is mint. We always have to have a little chair. Even if you move to a different office or something, you just got to have a small
The chair has to come with.
And that's it. Like, that'll be there forever. Just this little, we'll get you like a 3D printed little chair exactly like that. You know, we'll get someone on that. Ronan, get all over that, buddy. Ronan has a 3D printer.
This is what 3D printers should be for. So,
he's on it.
Obviously, sweet, happy days. I'll send you my address after. No, this is. I think these are the type of conversations that we need to realistically have. It's not. Nothing is perfect, and we need to listen to. Not being funny. We need to listen to the real world drivers, right? Real world drivers make a difference because they're the ones that know, right? They're the ones that know what it should feel like. Realistically, I've done a few track days and whatever, but I've never driven a GT3 car. I don't know what a GT3 car is supposed to feel like when it comes to the motion, when it comes to the movement and all that stuff, right? So you need to listen to those.
It's like Ben Collins, the Stig, trying out Project Motor Race, and he said it's very realistic, but I don't know. So maybe that's what it feels like in real life, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean... Interesting.
That sets a new precedent for what racing drivers know is realistic.
Yeah.
That's a funny hot take, a bit of spice for y'all. Don't mind me.
It's just, I'm just going to, like you're just sprinkling that on there. I'm just going to sort of navigate around that a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm just going to navigate around that a little bit because everyone by now has seen what reviews have been saying. So we've got a quick question from Tio Beto. Do you guys use pro feedback to develop? Yes, we do. So we have a we have an entire team of incredible. When I mean incredibly fast, I mean so fast that we have that help us develop and work within the app. So yeah, I think we have around 12 pros in the sim racing space now that help us across the sims. So a huge knowledge space, a huge amount of knowledge between them all in the variety of different cars. So again, we have specialists in GT3, we have specialists in prototypes, we have specialists for LMU, etc., right? So we've got a lot of really incredible drivers. I'm not a slow driver by any means, I don't think. These guys are just like, I can drive when I need to, right? But they're so much faster. It's ridiculous. It's not even funny, right? It's annoying at this point because you think that's the lap of my life, and then they'll be 3/10 faster. You're like, I don't know what else I can do at this point, right? But it's coming. Speaking of which, actually, let's talk a little bit more about Trophy, because obviously, Jack, we've spoken. Obviously, we've known each other for a while now. We've had a lot of back and forth with the whole Trophy thing. I remember you tried it. It was really good, etc. Go through, for the people that are watching, can you go through... This was way back when, right? We'll start from the beginning, when you first were looking into the whole Trophy thing. Talk us through what was the thing that really brought you into Trophy and you think, ooh, this is an interesting thing. What attracted you to it?
Well, firstly, it's never been done before, or at least done before in the way you guys have done it. So that's the first thing. It's like the idea of having a coach on demand that's like a fraction of the price of real life one-to-one coaching. So it's like, okay, that's firstly, whoa, okay, what's the story with this? And then secondly, like everything in life, some things have their limitations, some things have their pros. trophiai as a whole, as a tool because the thing with sim racing is it's quite, some people can only race for an hour or 2 or 3 or whatever it is. So when you go out and practice, you want to make sure you're doing it efficiently. And, you remember when you first started off sim racing that like some corners you took maybe an hour or maybe took a week for you to realize, oh, I don't brake on that corner. Or, oh, that corner was actually flat. And you spend time building up to it, or sometimes you stop building up to it because you just don't believe it's flat. So you're going up Eau Rouge and you're lifting just because you think that's what everyone else is doing. Until you have Trophy and you pull up the live telemetry and you see, whoa, okay, the expert lap isn't lifting here. Okay, or the expert lap isn't braking here. It's just a lift. That's like, you're talking, that saves you hours. So just these are very little details, but it's a huge time saver. One thing I like about Trophy is the way, and then the next thing is just the way it pushes you. It'll push you very hard, like a coach will. It'll push. And it really, when you think you have a corner down, but you have, Mansell, the coach, telling you, it's like, hey, you can go 5 meters later here, or you can, you can carry more speed. And you're like, I don't believe that. And then you try it and then you land it. Or you might try it and you might wall it. That's what coaching and practice is for. And then you'll understand, okay, I can go faster in this corner. Sometimes Mansell will tell you something, and this is becoming a fast driver. One issue that people have is sometimes you got to slow down to go faster. And that really is a tough concept to get. And for a year or two, I understood this. I knew this. And I know for a fact, no shade, but there might be people in the chat or there might be sim racers out there that also know this. They don't get it. And the reason I know that is because I really get it now. And I know I still don't know it. It is ruthless. Like trying to imagine each one of my tires has 100 units of grip currency to spend. And when I come into a corner, I'm trying so hard to be cognizant of the fact when I turn in, I'm trying to like leave spend on the table for the fronts. And I'm trying to go through spend on the rear. That way the car is like overspending on the rear, but it's underspending on the front. So it's biting, and all that is achieved by braking sooner and braking lighter, by not even trying on the brakes. And Trophy is really good at letting you know. It's like, hey, go 10 kilometers an hour slower. And you're like, what? 10? Or like brake way sooner. And you're like, but I can brake later. They're set by the expert laps for a reason. These lads are fast, but they're not like guns. Do you know what I mean? They're fast by pulling things back, focusing on their exits and being smooth. They're not trying to set a lap for the users of Trophy that they'll never hit. They're trying to set the lap that needs to be hit. So that's one thing I love about Trophy. But yeah, that's probably
It's good. It's good.
There's
Love
heaps
it.
more. There's heaps more, but like, there's so much that can be built on top of Trophy. Like, I always have ideas. I'm annoying Dan with. You guys all have ideas as well, and that's what the community is for. Like, they're really pushing into things that, an AI coach, and this needs to grow more. Feedback is always needed, and I'm just here for the journey, because the idea that people can just have an AI coach that they can just pull up whenever, hop out onto a track and get up to speed very quick. Like, you can hop out on a track that you've never been at before. Next thing you know, you're just like 1 or 2 seconds off the pace. Now, those last 2 seconds, they're difficult to find. You got to look into your theory. You got to sit down with a cup of tea and do a bit of reading, watching YouTube videos talking about stuff about max rotation point, what's actually happening with braking, trail braking, what does it mean to rotate a car, all this sort of stuff. But in terms of getting you up to speed for beginners and intermediates, it's incredible. I would say for people who are approaching mastery or experts, you got to do the work. There's track time involved there. Those last bits, you really got to understand the why. But yeah, it's Trophy is a very useful tool, and it's very promising tech, I'd say.
Sweet. There we go.
What's going on here? A question on the likes of the brake 5 to 10 meters later. Is that tough to understand versus someone picking a point on the track like a real world coach would? That's a very interesting one. I have some feedback for Trophy on that.
We also have some feedback that we're working on. So
yeah. There's Ronan. He's picking up a scent there. A scent.
Don't know how he's managed to find. That, but
I think people have been saying it for a while, so they understand that 5 to 10. Personally, for me, 5 to 10 meters. When Trophies, I think it depends how literally you take it. When Trophy says break 10 meters later, I don't hear and I try to plot out 10 meters. I hear break a little bit later. That's what I hear. And I basically operate to that effect. Now, there is a 100 board, there is a 50 board. It's not rocket science to find out where 90 might be. But at the same time, if some people are using feet and the idea of meters is off, I get that too. Well, if you got to break 30 meters later, you got to break a lot later. If you got to break 5 meters later, break a little bit later. And whatever it means to you that's up to you. So yeah, it's down to interpretation. But as I said, it's new tech, and that sort of feedback and ideas and stuff, it's all needed. It's probably best to go over to the Trophy Discord and let people know. Reach out to Dan directly, and if you have cool ideas, Dan is always all ears.
Always up for a chat. It's interesting, because when you're looking at, like you said, from 5 to 10 meters, 5 to 10 meters it's obviously a number that people have different. People look at it and go, 5 meters for you, maybe 5 meters different is different from 5 meters for me. Another way to look at it is something like car lengths. Car lengths is something that can sometimes be easier. I know I did that obviously, Jack, we've done some coaching, haven't we, in the past? And I've used car lengths before. So I've used car lengths, used reference points, but the car lengths is something that is easier sometimes to visualize, because you're looking at it, you go, oh, I know what a car length is, right? You can visualize a car easier than visualizing 5 meters. And so that is something, I may as well talk about it now. Why not? Because, something that we're here now. And
100%. Yeah.
So we're actually, again, there's a huge bit of feedback. We've heard this for a long, long time. So we're actively working on it now. And what we're doing is we are it's a very small test at the moment, so it's going to take obviously a little bit of time. But we are working on actually putting in reference points. It's lots of magic behind it, which I can't divulge because of the secrets, but we are putting reference points in. That is going to be a huge, complete game change, because you will get a category. It's like, here's a reference point to use. Now, the difference is, which we need to be clear on this. There's a difference between breakpoint and reference point, right? Which is something that we're conscious of. A breakpoint is simply where you're braking. The reference point is where what you're using in relation to where you need to brake. Sometimes the reference point is the same as the brake point. Other times it's not. So, again, probably most obvious one is at the end of the Kemmel Straight at Spa, you brake at the start of the curb. That is pretty much in GT3s, GT4s, you brake at the start of the curb. That's your reference. There's another corner somewhere, which I can't remember which one, but what you're doing is you're braking a car length after the start of the curb. I think it's No Name before they changed. But No Name now, I think you used to brake it just after the curb.
Yeah, you get up on the curb and then you brake on it straight.
So, yes. But you're braking after it. It's like a car length or 5 or 6 meters after. So
there's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of nuance in every corner, every track. Yeah, exactly.
And that's now, again, through a lot of clever magic that we're working on in the background as we speak. That is what we are. Like, when I mean as we speak, literally, because of the time zone difference, we are working on it actively now, which is amazing. And really excited to get that out. So that's a huge thing, which we're conscious of, like I said, to make sure we're doing the reference points, right? So actually, which rodents but need something to genuinely need something to get me back up to speed in the sim. Something that means I don't get as much time in the sim anymore. When I got back in, I lost a lot of iRating, which was frustrating when I was already at 3K. Obviously, Jack, I know you've had a bit like me, like everyone, a lot of ups and downs in terms of iRating. But what's, again, from an improvement perspective, because I know obviously Trophy has a lot of different features. What were the features that you were using them, especially in something like that, right? So you might not have, you had 2 weeks off, holiday, whatever it may be. Come back, it's like, oh my God, new track, no idea. What is your normal go-to in Trophy?
So normal routine is simple. Open the track, go out, do about 10, 15 laps with Trophy on, come back, load up the laps, and then there's a feature that takes your last 5 laps and plots it out in a little graph. It looks like a pentagon, and there's different metrics that it's like a pentagon shaped thing. There's different metrics and it just shows you where you're weakest. I'm always weakest on straight line braking. I can't remember what it's called, but essentially it's the main entry into corner on the top of that little graph. That's where I'm always weakest, of just getting into the corner quick and actually slowing the car down fast. So that little graph is like the quickest way to find out what you're lacking in. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And then after that, I jump into a race and then go from there. Trophy is good for a very fast ramp up if you want that, just to get back into it or get hot on a track. Or you can go out there and really just nitpick with the software. There's mini games, there's lots of different overlays you can have, letting you know how well you get into the apex. My favorite one to use is the minimum corner speed. I don't like too much, to be honest, so I like minimum corner speed and then braking point. Something super easy. Those little graphs that show you whether it was too fast or too slow, because I have a terrible problem of going too fast in corners. That sounds like a good problem, but imagine GT3 leaving the S's on Road Atlanta, the left-hander. I go into that corner too fast. And for some reason, my rear tires can't get the bite. It's usually only 5 or 7K faster than the fast people. I just can't get the same drive that they get. And I find it very difficult, but that's a corner. Classic example. For me to go faster, I have to slow down and just chuck it into the corner at the limit of grip of the tires. But there's a second part of that corner which requires more rotation that I can't get. And again, the minimum cornering speed overlay is mint for that.
And it's interesting that you said that as well, because Ronan, good. I'm glad the feedback helped. It's one thing obviously for me to talk about it because, you know, I'm with Trophy, but for Jack to talk about it from his experience, it's really handy to have. So it's great that's helped. The other thing, just to tack onto that as well, is everyone learns different, right? No two people learn the same. That's completely fine. The way I learn is different from you, Ronan, different from Jack. There's lots of different people that learn lots of different ways. So the good thing about the features that we have is you can use any one of them at any one time, and you can use an array of them. Some people use Mansell plus the overlay. Some people just use the overlay. Some people just use web telemetry. Some people, you can use so many different things that not only do you have the option to, you know, someone who's, you know, coming in for the very first time and want to learn the right way, perfect. We've got the university, we've got mini games that can help. But then as they get, you know, faster, because that's ultimately the goal, and people do naturally, what you start to get, there's so many messages about the chair now. It's really off-putting at this point. I'm trying to be all really good and let's do this. And it's just people just going on about chairs. It's lovely. So you get to, as you start to get faster, different things will start to help you in different ways. Some things will help you initially, then you might move away from them, then you might come back, then you might move away from them again. There's lots of different permutations, which is such a good thing about what we've done. Is it's effectively for everyone to a certain degree.
I say it's a beautiful time for a call to action at the minute. If anyone's watching and you're not already followed, consider hitting the follow button. We're literally 2 away from 60 followers, unless I haven't refreshed the page. But yeah, anyone's, I think so.
It's 64 now, according to the
Oh, Twitch. Well, I haven't refreshed. So excellent. All right, we're only 6 away from 70, lads.
No, it's good. Yeah, it's no, I like it. Again, having different things. Actually, we've got someone out, Guy VDR, getting breaking right with the sound and overlays works perfectly, but needs something to see on track, where to start the turn in, where to apex, where to get back on throttle. I'm always on the gas too early. That's an interesting one. That is an interesting one. So that's okay. That's something that it's harder to. It's not impossible, to be clear. Nothing is impossible. That's something that we have heard a little bit. Racing line is one thing actually, but it's not quite the thing with the racing line. Jack, you'll agree with me on this. Racing line is okay to use for maybe the first 5 or 10 minutes. Especially if you're learning a new track, maybe use it for the first 5 or 10 minutes and then just turn it off, because it gets to a point where it gives you a lot of initial feedback and then it just plateaus, because it doesn't matter what racing line, doesn't matter how good the sim is or whatever sim it is, it gets to a point where it just isn't faster. So one of the things that, I mean, just as a little bit of thing here, it's vision is obviously an important one there. If just based on, looking at see on track, where to start the turn in, where to start the apex, etc. One of the things that's normally sort of springing to my mind is the vision. So what I would do is, so Guy, is look just before you get to your braking point, look at the apex, right? So you break it down in 2 ways. The first half of a corner is where do you want the car to go, right? And then the second half of the corner is where do you want the car to end up? That's how I break it down initially. Then you can start breaking it down more, break point, apex, mid, exit. You can start breaking it down more, but to start with, just those 2 things. Just before your braking point, look at the apex. And then just before you get to the apex, then look at the exit. It's amazing how much that can give you. If you look even 2 extra car lengths ahead or 3 car lengths ahead, the amount of information that you can process in that time is huge. So what you may find is you'll look a little bit further ahead, you're just about to get on throttle, you'll realize that you're just going to understeer at this point, then you'll pause and then you'll start going in. It's amazing how much info you can go from that. So I waffled on there, but that's huge.
You're hitting it right on. For me, myself, I cover a series on YouTube called Sim Racing Psychology that I really do love. Don't just focus on like the little bits. You can focus on yourself too, in the sense that, there's patience there. If you come into a corner and you get too early on throttle, quickly analyze it, but don't beat yourself up. It's like, okay, I got too early on the throttle there. And come around next time and do it again and try to do it better. And then you go on the throttle too early again. And then you find you're doing this like on and off the throttle, when really you need to just be coming on once. And myself personally, at the level I'm at, which I'm not far from perfect, if I get onto the throttle and I have to do 1 lift to correct so I don't go off the track, that's failure. So I failed. I'm competing against people who don't have to lift. I'm competing against people when they leave a corner, they go down and they stay down. So it's all about patience and just quickly analyzing yourself, going, oh, all right, that was way too early. So next lap, I'm just going to do better. That's what I would say. I wouldn't overthink it. Go back. If you're trying to sprint, just try and jog, and then you'll be able to run. Because if you try and sprint for a race, you'll fall and break your face. No one wants that. So what you need to do is just jog. Go back to jogging, and you'll find actually a fun experiment for you if you're at that stage. Try and drive slower and turn your delta off, the chances are you're looking at your delta when you're leaving the corner, and stabbing the throttle early is giving you a nice flicker of green. It's also taking your attention away. Get onto the power without looking at your delta and try and go slowly. You'll find you go faster. And then when you leave the corner, that's when you take the time to analyze stuff with Trophy. You know, you can check the telemetry app and see, oh, okay, how did that compare? You can check the other overlays. How did that compare? But mid-corner is that magic zone where the only thing that matters is patience, smooth, and just flow. Just going through like a song almost.
like a waltz.
Don't feel yourself getting too tense. Like when you get into a corner, like, you know, don't forget to breathe. You know, breathe and keep your muscles the same way you would as if you're on the straight. All you're doing is just turning and just going. You know.
Another thing that I found,
that all right.
Well, just to tack onto that, one thing actually that I found, and I still do this now, is just every now and again, just put a Post-it note on the bottom of the bezel of the monitor or whatever. Just said something. It could just be breathe or relax or whatever. It's amazing how even something like that can help, right? Because you just have something to ground yourself with and come back to. So there's lots of different stuff.
I'd love to just throw in a hack, actually, just on that point. You reminded me, just for the viewers that are here. One of my favorite pieces that I've ever done in the Sim Racing Psychology series that had the most profound effect on me, and I found people coming back to me saying as well. And from the Sim Racing Psychology series, I've had people who've worked for the Department of Corrections in America saying that they've started small little programs literally based off that video series, giving people a controlled environment to work on and to work on their control, and seeing how they receive instant feedback, and, you know, managing themselves in a controlled environment where ultimately they're accountable for everything. You know, if they make a mistake, there's no blame there, you know, even if they crash or whatever. The one biggest thing I found was the most useful was how to correct after a mistake. It's very easy. So let me see in the chat. I'm sure there might be one person here. Hey, Eddie, how's it going? Has anyone ever made a mistake in sim racing and then they found the rest of the race just start unraveling? Like you just cut a t-shirt and then all the threads start coming out. That's another way to put that is you're spiraling. You're doing like a mistake. You're spiraling into more mistakes and more mistakes. I just like to share to you, because some people don't sit down and think about this. I did, but only because I was doing it for a video that I really researched all this, is that when you make a mistake, you have a choice. It's literally your choice to either continue on making mistakes or you can reset. Now, resetting isn't too easy. What needs to be done there is you need to quickly prove to yourself that you're back in control and you're back to where you were before the mistake happened. So what you need to do is you make a mistake, whether you spin, you come off the track, even if you touch the wall and the car has a bit of light damage, but you can continue. You get back on the track and you tell yourself one thing: I am going to regain control. And the next corner, you take it slowly. You take it slowly. You don't try getting time back. You're not a magician. You're not going to be able to invent time. And, you know, I'm going to make up 5 seconds in this next corner to make up for that mistake. That's not going to happen. What you do is you go through that corner and you just nail it. Brake early, hit your apex, and leave quick. You will find that that's one step to just break that whole spiral. Bosh, gone. You're completely back in control. And you just do it again for another corner. And then you have to internally accept, okay, I've lost a few spots. Car's a bit banged up. Reset. We go till the end. I'm sure worse is going to happen to other people. And that was one of the biggest things that helped me in sim racing, is just that I can choose when to stop that spiral of mistakes. So yeah, I just thought it'd be worth sharing that. As we talked about the little post-it note and stuff like that, you know, little reminders to ourselves that we have a lot more control. It's not just how good are my pedals, how good are my hands, how good is my knowledge. How do you take stuff? How do you deal with failure? How do you deal with mistakes, setbacks? How quick can you bounce back? You know, recovery from failure is something top athletes in the world are very, very good at. And yeah, that's thought it was worth sharing.
which is,
I'm passionate about
really
it, so yeah.
No, it's good. It's good. This is good.
Just go on.
No, this is great. This is great. The thing that, again, just to add on to that again, another thing that, you know, this may help people more, this may help people less. Especially when a small mistake, as you said, you can spiral, you can unravel. The one thing is not to chase getting the car back too early. If you outbrake yourself, accept you've outbraked yourself. Because what you'll find is if you try and force the car to, if you know you've braked too late, for example, if you try and force the car to do the exact same thing, if you brake later but you turn it at the same point, cars can go, no thanks, and it's just going to give up halfway through the corner. If you know you've braked a little bit too late, on your quali lap or whatever, really the best thing to do, at least for me, I found, to again stop that spiral, but to also just to manage how much time loss and to minimize the amount of time loss, is to simply just move everything a little bit further back. Except you've gone wide, or you will go wide.
You've invented a new line. You gotta follow through with it.
Exactly. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. If you lose half a second by just accepting that you've gone wide and then just waiting for the car to respond, waiting for the car to get to a position where you can then start entering the corner, getting on throttle, whatever it may be, you may only lose half a second. But if you brake late, turn in at the same point, try and do everything else the same, you're going to lose 2 seconds because you're either going to understeer wide, car's going to give up, like I said, and it's just going to... Right. So there's a way to lose... it's worth losing a little bit of time versus making the problem further, pushing the problem further down the line. You're kicking the can down the road if you don't accept something happens too soon.
Acceptance is very important. Acceptance is really important. And with sim racing, you can grow a lot in sim racing. If you like myself, I've done things recently in sim racing that I didn't think I'd ever be able to do. Race some people I never thought I'd be able to race. Drive in a way I never thought I'd be able to drive. Recover from things I never thought I'd be able to recover, and minimize mistakes in a way, X, Y, Z. That stuff transfers over to life. Now, look, that's a hot take, but I'm willing to just keep banging the drum on that because it only has positive outcomes. Sim racing is an area where you can grow in and prove things to yourself in a controlled space. And should you push yourself really hard and optimize yourself in every way in one area of life, I'm a firm believer that that behavior starts kind of replicating outside. So if you're able to recover from a mistake better in sim racing, that mentality, you can be damn sure in real life when you have a setback, you are better equipped to do it, especially if it's something you treat seriously. If you don't treat sim racing seriously and you're the kind of person that says, oh, you guys treat it too seriously, talking about all that stuff, that's cool. That's not for you. Some people treat it quite seriously. Everyone needs a thing. And for those who treat it seriously, the more you push it, you'll find that other areas of your life might get a little bit better, depending how far you push into uncharted territory when it comes to managing mistakes, personal performance. Because ultimately, everything's done from the mind in sim racing. Your hands and feet are just doing what up here tells you. So yeah, it's very interesting stuff. We could do a whole podcast on that.
We could go so deep into it.
We could.
Like you said, there's so many things that we could do. Tia Berto actually just put in the chat as well. Happened to me 2 weeks ago. The next race, I noticed it and I actually repeated to myself, brake, apex, turn a couple of times and got P2. Sweet. Amazing. Literally, yeah, that is the fact it's worked. Like, there is no more evidence you need of it working than that. Recognize, change, move forward, and you notice the difference. That's such a good thing. It's sometimes it can be quite demoralizing, because again, we've all been in the situation, right? You spend 3 weeks, nothing's fast. The amount of times I've practiced for a 24-hour race, I remember, I think it may have been 2 years ago, I was doing a race and literally it was 30 hours worth of practice I did in the end. And I think the final, it may have been 20 of those hours, I may have found a tenth and a half. Like, it's so demoralizing on occasion, because it is, right? Because though you're just like, this is so how do I get? And then all of a sudden you take a step back, assess, you think, well, maybe I'll try this, and then bang, you find some time, like Tia Berta did. It's really, really good. Another bit of suggestion there for Guy as well. A suggestion for iRacing was to be able to use trophy with the reset feature. Love the idea. Again, it's something that we have heard before. It's a really interesting concept as well. Repetition is good. We all know that. So yes, something we have heard before. We would absolutely love to do. We've got a few things that we're working on at the moment. Obviously, one being the new reference points, but also we are looking at LMU, obviously, as there's a lot of things that we're doing now within LMU. So there's lots of things coming there. Really, again, just the full support of the app. So that is actively being worked on as well. But like I said, we have heard that quite a bit. It's something we would absolutely love to do. It's like you said, there's so many different topics there's so many different topics that require you can go into so much detail. And there doesn't necessarily need to be I don't know. It's everyone has their own opinions on it, which is great. That's, I think, part of the reason why we all love sim racing, is because everyone does it in a slightly different way, which is so good. So interesting Jack, just for your, I've asked this a few times with people. I did it actually quite a lot at the expo, and I don't know if you did the same thing. But one of the things I was asking people actually was, what do the next 2 or 3 months look like for you in sim racing? What is there a goal? Is there just having fun? Is there a target? So, and I got some amazing answers, some wild answers, which I was not expecting from some people, which was great. But let me ask you, what does the next let's go 3 to 4 months look like for you? So that will be going into the first quarter of 2026.
That's a big question. What do the next? Because it's a very short time, but it's a very long time at the same time. The way I deal with sim racing, as I said, when it comes to me in gaming, but my passion is also content creation. So it's a real hand-in-hand thing. They're both in the same hand at the minute. Naturally, with me doing it full time, my passion is my work, and my work is my passion, and I'm a wee bit obsessive about it, but in a healthy way. And I'm comfortable with that. I know some people would say obsession can be unhealthy, but obsession can also be, when you're drawn to something, like a light obsession. You feel like you want to do something, you just do it.
You're passionate.
The next, I'm a bit more than passionate.
Well, you know what I mean.
Passion only gets you so far. It's usually a sprinkle of obsession. People don't like to admit it, but obsession can get stuff done. Chair obsession. People are obsessed with the chair. I think I'm in love with the process at the minute, and I really go day by day and week by week. So yeah, 2 to 3 months. I know if I just keep doing what I'm doing, I know I'll be happy out in 2 or 3 months. Just as long as the passion for sim racing stays, which it is. It hasn't peaked yet, which is crazy. I was worried making the leap full time. The second I stop loving sim racing is the second you'll stop seeing videos from me, because I've done it before. Second I fell out of love with military simulation, I said, bye, guys, goodbye. I'm happy. I'm hanging it up now. I had a blast. Because if you do something you don't like to do as a content creator, your audience don't deserve that, and they will smell it a mile away. And I would never dare do that to someone I love so much, and my audience I love deeply. They know that. They mean a lot to me. They're a large part of my day. They're a lot of my day. I'm only a little part of theirs, whether they're on the way to work or cooking food, or they actually chill out with me in their work day. But they're a lot of my day. The week. Yeah, that's it. Just the next 2 to 3 months are to just keep falling in love with the process. I love it. Sorry, that's a long-winded answer, but that was a long-winded question.
It was very very deep question there. No, I think that's, I haven't heard it explained, because again, I asked that to a lot of people at the expo. I mean, I must have asked that to probably 100 people, and there was a wild variety of answers. That's definitely a new one. It's not a new one, but you've explained it in a slightly different way, which is really. I think that's something that I think something that was definitely with me there was just enjoy the process. I went through a big stage of not enjoying it, to be fair. And we all do. There's always just this moment of we just don't know, you don't like it, which is fine. But I don't drive as much as I used to, unfortunately. But when I do, I'm just so much more, like you said, enjoying the process is a really good way to put it. I really like that.
Anything with work, especially if you love what you do, it's a relationship, and relationships need work and attention. Sometimes they need a bit of distance. Sometimes they need a bit of closeness. Sometimes it's like electricity. It's like a sine wave. You just got to keep it, you got to keep it going up and down, because if you aim for perfectly level, that's where you get. So you got to just keep it threading that line, the what is it, the x-axis, just keep it going. Oh yeah, that's a great question, Dan, and that came at a very good time for me, to be honest, at this point in my life. This right now, that's a question that I needed to hear. So yeah, very good timing on it, to be honest. Someone said they're going to steal Uncat away from me. Uncat is the name of my girlfriend. That's what the live chat have given her the nickname of. I'm Unk, so she's Uncat.
Why do I want to know why?
Unk. I don't know. I give crazy uncle vibes, and crazy uncle in the meme world is referred to as Unk. Unk is wildin'.
In the what world?
In the meme world.
Oh, okay.
You're up to date. And don't look at me like you don't meme. Don't you even start?
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know this whole meme thing. I don't know what you're talking about. It's,
but yeah, so Unket, she is my partner in crime, my now fiance. But yeah, the streaming is fun. Jeez, you've given me a lot to think about that question. The next 2 to 3 months, good time.
So I'm gonna literally just end with that. Just end with that absolute bombshell of a question.
We'll have to do that again. We'll have to do this again, guys. Would you like to see this again? And shout out to the few who have showed up. Obviously, the trophy are really starting up their Twitch now, and they're putting a lot of consistency into it. This being the first racing style podcast they've done. Obviously, the viewers are building. It was a very cool dynamic we had here with everyone just chipping in, chatting. Shout out to everyone for showing up. Fair play to you all. Yeah, just three of us in the live stream. Me, Dan, and the chair. This excellent.
Honestly, I was going to ask. I was going to say to her, I was like, if there's any last questions, then amazing. Not the chair. If there's any questions about the chair, I'm just going to end the stream here. But
any last quick fire questions?
Yeah, quick fire questions. Just doing a quick 5 minutes. Just if anyone's not related to the chair.
I have about 3 or 4 minutes left, and then I have perfectly 5 minutes left. Actually, yes.
5 minutes. There we go. Wait until Dan sees the work group chat after the stream. Marvelous. Absolutely cannot wait.
You got to get me in there, guys. Get me in there, lads.
Oh no, this is going to be
Dan Jackzer in the chair. What? It's like the witch, the wizard, and the wardrobe.
The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Yeah, Dan Jackzer in the chair. I think it's funnier the longer you think about it.
Oh no. Yeah, this is going to be funny. That work chat is going to be interesting afterwards. I might just table that for an hour and just come back to that after.
The average viewer of sim racing content is aged between 25 and 45, so I think the jokes are appropriate.
Yeah, it's about right. A little look into the next day and the next update with Trophy, which Ronan has said. So, yeah, I mean, in terms of, we may as well go specifically with the racing side because that's what we're talking about today. One of the ones again is the reference points that is, like I said, actively being worked on as we speak, which is really exciting. Again, I can't give timeframes on this stuff, but it is all being well very, very soon. The reference points being rather than say simply just break 5 to 10 meters or break 10 meters later or whatever that may be, it would instead say break a car length after the 50-meter board, right? Or something like that. That is one of the things. LMU is now on its way, fully integrated. All of the other features that we support, both in iRacing, ACC, etc., as Mike in there has put. Yes, so LMU is coming in full capacity, which is really exciting. And we also have we're doing some other games and stuff, which is, again, we don't need to necessarily talk about that in this particular video, in this stream, I should say, but there's lots of things. There's a couple of other small little things, but we are moving forward with some quite big projects quickly. And then going into the new year, we're going to be looking at a few other things, which, again, we're just confirming on what those are going to be. But if there are any other bits of feedback, email support@trophi.ai, or if you're in the Discord, message us, whatever it may be, just please feel free to reach out. Jack, anything else you wanted to end? Because I know we're coming up to the end of the stream. Anything you want to add?
No, I think that we'd love to do it again now that we have a bit of muscle memory for it. I think if we find a bit of time to do it, I think that'll be a really cool idea. I think the viewers might get a bit of muscle memory for the time. They can bring topics. I think it's a very interesting format. I'm just reflecting on it at the moment. Definitely, we're a power couple when it comes to sim racing.
We are indeed, aren't we?
Yeah, getting on like a house on fire. Yeah.
I know.
Love it.
No, it's really good.
No, nothing else to add. Thanks so much for showing up, everyone. How to practice would be a nice topic. Yeah, I could bring a few different tips and tricks for people, like different things that I could tell you in 2 minutes that I found very profound that took me 2 years to learn. Little mindset shifts. I'm big on the psychology side, but still, little mindset shifts that when someone says something right, just like it takes them 60 seconds to say something clicks in you and you go, I've never thought about it that way. And then you start observing your own actions, and what's weird about some actions is when you start observing them, they start changing. That's very interesting, that is. Dan Jackzer in the chair. That's goated meme for the first stream. Only the real ones will know about it, and in the future ones, people won't know. Where's this chair thing? And,
where does this chair come from?
We'll have to get a chair emoji. Yeah.
I'm in the UK now, so by the time we do another stream, I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be back in Canada, so we're gonna have to find a.
I'm sure there'll be many chairs. Sure, the lovely team at Trophy will find a very suitable chair. I'm sure they'll assist you with that.
Many chairs. No, this is awesome. Jack, appreciate you coming on again. It's great for us to be able to catch up. It's really, really good fun, as you said, and a big thanks to everyone that showed up, that stayed, chatted. It's amazing. This is what we like. This is what we want to do. We're going to do more of these things. If you want any feedback, or if you want to give any feedback, like I said, please do email us, message us, however you want to contact us. Contact us by pigeon. Doesn't matter. We want to always hear people's feedback. But let's end it there. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We will see you, all being well, very, very soon. But until then, take care. Stay safe.
Bye. See you guys.
Bye.